So I just want to try to make a little bit of sense out of Dana White's recent interview on TMZ, because Dana White got on TMZ and said that UFC 249 is happening. As a matter of fact, the UFC just released their new fight card. And as we all know, it was supposed to be Khabib and Tony Ferguson, a fight that is supposed to happen umpteen times beforehand, but hasn't, and a lot of fans have just given up on it. Like, look, man, we're just apparently going to miss out on this epic battle because that's what it's supposed to be, right? And Ferguson himself has had a string of bad luck. He's had some issues. I mean, there's just been a lot of stuff with Ferguson as it is, right? And then, of course, Khabib with the suspension after McGregor, that whole incident, yada, yada, yada. Okay. The point of what I'm getting to is simply this, and understand that what I'm talking about here is directly from the horse's mouth, okay? In an interview with TMZ, Dana White, first of all, said that 249 is on, it's happening. Shout out to Justin is what he wanted to do for stepping up to the plate and fighting Tony Ferguson, for Ferguson go ahead and taking the fight and staying on the card. And then, of course, the other thing that he talked about was securing a private island that he's going to start having international fights because this is, because of this private island and they're on private jets and all the testing that he said that they're going to do with everybody to make sure that everybody's safe and all this stuff. And he even said that it was bullshit, literally his words, that Joe Rogan's not going to be there to commentate these fights, that, he just said something on some podcast that was full of shit and don't listen to the media. Those were his words, not mine. All right. And so what I am exceptionally curious about is, okay, if you've got this private island and you can have these international fights, well, then why not delay Tony Ferguson and Khabib fighting later on down the road then? Like, why not wait an extra week? You said you're going to have fights every week. So why not wait an extra week or two and go, hey, guys, keep training for each other. We're going to make this fight happen one way or the other. After he said Khabib got caught up in these travel restrictions and there was nothing he could do about it. But then he turned around and said, well, we're going to make some international fights happen and we're going to be flying people in from basically wherever the hell they want to make fights happen. I need to know exactly what's happening here, because either something is extremely off and we're not getting the entire story, or Dana White got on a podcast or TMZ or whatever you want to call this interview and said some things that maybe he was full of shit on. And look, I've never known Dana White to be full of shit about anything. I've always felt him to be a straight shooter. I've always felt him to be exceptionally honest. And I've always felt that Dana White, when he's going to get something done, is going to get something done. If he says he could do it, he can do it, which is great. Go ahead. By all means, do whatever it is that you want to do, okay? What I'm getting to is, beyond the health stuff, beyond everything else that he talked about, why not delay the fight up until you know that you can get these plans done and then have them both fly out and just take care of business from there? That's my thing. That's what I'm wondering. And I think that's the question, because that's the hole in everything that he's talking about. My thing about the UFC 249 happening is, to me, it's, first of all, it's not necessarily all on Dana White. I do think that ESPN has a little bit, obviously, to do with what's going on right now. Because, as we all know, the UFC picked up all their fights, and supposedly at the beginning of the year, the numbers picked up, the pay-per-view buy rates were through the roof, and supposedly they were doing a better job of promoting the brand than Fox Sports was. And, Dana made the transition and said that, 2019 was their most profitable year to date. And so what I'm curious about is if it was the most profitable time frame, because, like I made mention of yesterday in the interview that I did with Destiny, one of the things that I talked to her about was, would you want to be Dana White right now? would you want to make decisions? Because Dana had talked about how he's got mouths to feed. There are fighters and a number of other people that are counting on him so that way he can make it to where everybody can provide for their families. And look, I wouldn't want to be in that position right now. I would not want to be a restaurant owner right now. I would not want to be a warehouse owner right now. I would not want to be a business owner really of any kind, where the very lives of all of my people were literally contingent on what I'm capable of doing for them at this point, because it's a matter of safety. It's a matter of financial capability. It's a matter of, can you get unemployment? Because people are being denied unemployment regardless of what they're telling you. Sure, a lot of people have applied for unemployment, but that doesn't mean that they're getting it right now. It just means that they've applied for it. But it doesn't mean that they're eligible for unemployment. There are a lot of people who have been denied. We're talking about independent contractors. We're talking about a lot of servers. We're talking about a lot of people whose income isn't necessarily all that traceable, because when you're an independent subcontractor, a lot of times that money isn't necessarily under the table, but the way that those companies work that they're working for are different. The same way it is with the server, because sure, you report your tips, but a lot of times it's also your responsibility to report your cash tips fiscally, or what is that, every three months? So not fiscally, pardon me, but every 3 months. And so there's been a lot of people with a lot of different struggles. I would not want to be Dana White. I wouldn't want to be anybody that's an owner in the NFL. I wouldn't want to be Roger Goodell. I wouldn't want to be Adam Silver. I'm just telling you that right now. I mean, they're already asking people, NBA players to take, what was it, a 30% pay cut? Isn't that what they offered right now? Can you please take a 30% pay cut? Why? Because they're not generating any money right now. Nothing is coming in. Everything is going out. And that's the complicated situation that everybody is in right now. Not a lot going in, if anything at all, a lot going out. It's hard. So to be Dana White, I wouldn't want to be. I think ESPN does have their hand in this, because ultimately they have to be able to keep their brand going. They are uploading videos that a lot of us are just like, dude, really? This is what it is when there's no sports going on? This is what we're having to look at on ESPN? Like the pizza box guy that I talked about. I mean, they're doing things that it's like either we didn't see it before and they're just being themselves, or it's just like, dang, man, like for real. So it's complicated, but I think, again, for me, the question is, if you can do this, if you can get these international flights and you can have these fights every single week, then why not just delay the Ferguson Khabib fight a little bit longer until you can get it done? Don't you dare touch that dial.